Ethan Thompson, the doctor called out, holding the diagnostic report. Here, I answered, walking into his office. The doctor handed me the report. Haven't been eating properly? My eyes fell on the words on the report, and the room started spinning. Stomach cancer. Late stage. I've been so busy with work, I really hadn't been eating well. My stomach had been hurting for the whole 2 weeks of this business trip. Today, the pain was so bad I coughed up blood, so I had no choice but to come to the hospital. I never imagined it would be something like this. My hands trembled, my heart heavy as lead. It hadn't even been 6 months since my parents died in a car accident, and now I had a terminal illness. If I died, my wife would be left all alone in this world. How lonely she would be. Seeing the color drain from my face, the doctor tried to console me. Don't panic. Stomach cancer isn't necessarily a death sentence. With proper treatment, you can still live for many years. I didn't believe him. Who didn't know cancer was terminal? Late-stage cancer was basically a death sentence. I sat on a bench in the hallway for a long time, thinking. I decided not to get treatment. I was going to die anyway, so there was no point wasting money. Better to leave it for my wife. That way, she'd be financially secure for the rest of her life. I cut my business trip short and flew home. Leaving the airport, I contacted my lawyer. I need to come in shortly to draw up a will. I needed to sort out my assets with my wife and leave a will. Of course, Mr. Thompson, the lawyer said. Come by any time. I got back to our house in Pinecrest Heights. Opening the door, I found the place quiet. Lucy, I'm home. My wife didn't answer or come out. She must have gone shopping, I figured, so I called her phone. The call connected, but a man's voice answered. Yeah? Who's this? I froze. Who are you? I shot back. Who the hell cares who I am? He said impatiently. If you got something to say, spit it out. Anger flared up in me. You're holding my wife's phone. What's with the attitude? Where's my wife? How should I know where your wife is? I found this phone. But just then, I heard a clear female voice in the background. Honey, where's my phone? It was unmistakably my wife, Lucy Brown. Lucy Brown. I roared into the phone. Who are you calling, honey? The line clicked dead. Rage surged through me, and I immediately redialed. After a long pause, she answered. It was Lucy's voice. Honey, when are you coming back? Her voice was sickly sweet, as if she had nothing to hide. Who were you calling honey just now? I demanded furiously. Who's the man with you? Oh, you misunderstood, she chirped. He's just a classmate. Last name Wilson. We all call him Quentin. We're having a class reunion today. I just stepped away to the restroom, and Quentin answered the phone for me. Lucy Brown and I were childhood sweethearts. We'd been together from elementary school through college. I knew practically all her classmates. I racked my brain, but I couldn't recall anyone named Wilson. Which classmate Wilson? I pressed. You don't know him. Oh, they're calling me. I'll call you tonight. She hung up. My fists clenched, suspicion gnawing at me like a parasite. I didn't call back again. Instead, I went to the security office at Pinecrest Heights. I slipped the guard in charge a pack of cigarettes, telling him I'd lost my phone when I got back and wanted to check the security footage to see if I could spot where. He let me into the monitoring room. I watched the footage. For the past few days, Lucy Brown had gone out in the morning and returned in the afternoon. Nothing unusual. But yesterday, she had brought a man home. He was fair-skinned and a bit heavy-set, looked vaguely familiar, but I couldn't place him. The man arrived at 1:50 p.m., and Lucy saw him out at 5:20 p.m. All that time, they couldn't have done nothing, could they? My stomach was killing me. Clutching it, I slowly started walking back. My head was spinning. What if Lucy was cheating on me? What would I do? Divorce? Willingly hand her over to another man? But the thought of staying married, knowing this, made my stomach turn. I got back to our home in Pinecrest Heights and looked around everywhere, but I didn't find any sign of another man. Every room was neat and tidy, spotless. Lucy loved to keep the house clean. Every time I came back from a business trip, the place was immaculate. Suddenly, I thought maybe I was overthinking things. How could a woman who loved keeping her home so tidy possibly cheat? The security footage didn't necessarily mean anything either. After all, she could have just been bringing a classmate home. Besides, Lucy and I had been married for 10 years. We'd always loved and respected each other. Never even had a serious argument. Why would she betray me? Thinking this, I felt a pang of guilt. Lucy was the girl I'd protected since we were young, my sweetheart. I shouldn't be suspecting her like this. Click. The door suddenly opened. Lucy was back. Seeing me, she froze. You're back. Behind her stood a man. The same one from the security footage she'd brought home yesterday. My heart dropped like a stone, an icy chill spreading through me. My stomach twisted into a knot. Fighting the pain in my gut, I asked quietly, surprised. No, Lucy explained. I just thought you weren't coming back for a few more days. She turned back to the man. Come in, have a seat. Then she introduced him to me. This is my classmate, Quentin Wilson. The man stared at me with open hostility. I looked back at him, then asked Lucy, wasn't the classmate you mentioned named Wilson? The one named Wilson is a different classmate, Lucy replied. I turned to her. Honey, have you forgotten? I know all your classmates. Lucy visibly panicked. I misspoke. He's not a classmate, he's a colleague. What colleague? Lucy didn't even have a job. Where'd she get a colleague? I'd always thought Lucy wasn't a very good liar. I could see right through her whenever she tried. I used to find that naive quality endearing, but right now I didn't like it at all. Lucy stammered. He's a former colleague. For 9 years ago. The man suddenly laughed. Don't you recognize me, Mr. Thompson? 10 years ago, you stole the woman I loved and humiliated me. Have you forgotten all that? I was baffled. I stole your woman? What are you talking about? And besides, I don't even know you. How could I have humiliated you? Well, Mr. Thompson, you important people have short memories. It figures. You only deal with high-class folks, so it's natural you wouldn't remember a lowlife like me. I retorted, in our country, everyone is equal. We just have different jobs. I have no idea how you distinguish between your so-called high-class and low-life people. Forget it. You wouldn't understand anyway. Let me get straight to the point. I came to your house to find you. 10 years ago, you humiliated me. Call me a poor loser. Use your power to steal Lucy. Now, I'm here to take her back. I was even more confused. Lucy and I were childhood sweethearts. From dating to engagement to marriage, we knew everything about each other. She hadn't dated any other man besides me. We were each other's first and only love. How could I have used my power to steal her? Could it be that back when Lucy was dating me, she was secretly seeing this man too? I asked Lucy, what's the real story between you and him? Lucy answered, 10 years ago, he saved my life. Then I remembered. 10 years ago, right before Lucy and I were supposed to have our wedding, this guy, Quentin Wilson, had shown up. But he was blind back then, tall and thin, completely different from how he looks now. Lucy brought him home and told me, Ethan, let's cancel the wedding. I'm going to marry him. I was stunned. The wedding is all planned. Why the sudden change of heart? What happened? Lucy answered, Quentin saved my life. She explained what happened. Lucy was working at a company back then, and Quentin was her colleague. That summer, their company had a team-building trip out in the mountains. On the first night there, Lucy was out alone, taking pictures of the mountain scenery at night, when she lost her footing and fell down a ravine. Luckily, it wasn't too deep, and she didn't lose consciousness, but her phone was gone, so she couldn't call for help. All she could do was scream for help. Quentin happened to be nearby, heard her cries, and rushed over to save her. But he slipped and fell down too, and a rock tumbled down, hitting him on the head. Ignoring the pain, Quentin crouched down, let Lucy climb onto his shoulders, and pushed her back up. By the time Lucy brought back help, Quentin was unconscious. The rock had damaged Quentin's optic nerve, Lucy said. When he woke up, everything was dark. He spent a long time in the hospital getting treatment. Even when he was discharged, his vision was still incredibly blurry. He could barely make things out unless they were right in front of his face. He was practically blind. This happened because he saved me, she continued, so I've decided to marry him and take care of him. I cut her off. Do you love him, or do you just feel sorry for him? He saved you. Yes, but we can help him get treatment for his eyes, give him a generous reward. You don't have to marry him, do you? Pity isn't love. Lucy said, but like this, he'll have trouble finding anyone to marry him. Who will take care of him? How will he manage? Ethan, you're healthy. You can find someone else even without me. Can't you just let us be together? Before I could even respond, Quentin flared up, demanding, Lucy, do you love me, or do you pity me? Lucy looked at him, then at me, saying nothing. Quentin was furious. So, you really just pity me? He turned on me, yelling, Mr. Thompson, you look down on me now, but someday, I'll make you regret this. Then he stormed out. A few days later, Lucy and I went ahead with the wedding. I never imagined that 10 years later, they'd reconnect. And now, Lucy wants to divorce me for him. Quentin said bitterly, back then, Mr. Thompson, you thought you were better than me with your dirty money. You humiliated me and forced Lucy to marry you. She's wasted 10 years of her life on you, and I've waited painfully for her for 10 years. Isn't it time you gave her back to me? I had to laugh. You're right, I did look down on you then, and I still look down on you now. Weren't you blind? How can you suddenly see? Quentin said, I got treatment. I sneered. Tricks like that might fool Lucy, but not me. Lucy jumped to his defense. He wasn't lying. His eyes really were almost completely blind back then. He's been getting treatment all these years. He only came back to me after his sight was restored. I looked at her scornfully. Only you would believe that. I used to love Lucy's innocence. Now I realized it wasn't innocence. It was stupidity. Enough talk, Quentin said, pulling out a paper and spreading it on the table. Lucy has made her decision. She wants to be with me. Here are the divorce papers. Just sign them. Lucy already has. I looked down at the agreement. It stated that our 2 houses would be split, one for each of us. Same for the 2 storefronts. All savings, investments, company shares. Everything split right down the middle between Lucy and me. The total value I would have to give her came to $150 million. I asked, Lucy, this $150 million, how exactly did you arrive at that number? Lucy didn't say a word, just looked at Quentin. Quentin answered for her. Your parents left you an inheritance of $300 million. Split evenly between the 2 of you. Isn't that exactly $150 million? On what grounds does she get half? Based on the fact that you 2 have a marriage certificate. I laughed. So she takes this $150 million, a house, and a commercial property to marry you, and you just get to sit back and enjoy the benefits, instantly becoming a rich man? You've really thought this through, haven't you? $150 million might be peanuts to the truly wealthy, but to an ordinary person, it's a fortune. Most people couldn't earn that much in a lifetime, and all he had to do was get a marriage certificate, and he'd have it all. With his scheme exposed, Quentin's face flushed crimson. He slammed his hand on the coffee table, shouting in fury and embarrassment, You owe me this. Lucy being married to you for 10 years means you cost me 10 years. The assets Lucy gets are just compensation you owe us. What more do you have to ask? I sneered, to say something so shameless with such conviction. Lucy, what exactly do you love about him? Quentin roared, Lucy and I are deeply in love. It was you who shamelessly broke us apart. She loves me for my good looks, my charm, and my understanding nature. Unlike you, who treated her like a servant. Quentin was admittedly somewhat handsome when he was younger, but now he put on weight. Not even 40, he already had a beer belly, and his hair was thinning on top. Compared to me, he was clearly older looking and unattractive. I had no idea what Lucy saw in him. I looked at Lucy and asked, Did you tell him I treated you like a servant? Lucy didn't work, so naturally she did housework at home, but when I came home from work, I always did it with her. I really enjoyed doing chores together. We'd cook together, wash dishes together, chatting while we worked. It was always a great atmosphere. Besides, we don't have kids or pets. There wasn't even that much housework. Where did this treating her like a servant come from? Lucy lowered her head, avoiding my gaze, and didn't answer my question. I've already decided on the divorce. You don't need to waste your breath. A sharp pain twisted in my stomach. Once it eased slightly, I spoke. You're right, I am wasting my breath. I agree to the divorce, but the agreement needs to be changed. Quentin asked, change how? I tore up the agreement and said, I'll have my lawyer draft a new one. I'll give it to Lucy at the county clerk's office tomorrow. Quentin thought for a moment, then agreed. Fine. Then we'll see you at the county clerk's office tomorrow. I looked at him. If you show up, the divorce is off. Quentin's expression changed. Why? I won't allow Lucy to finalize our divorce 1 minute and marry you the next. You 2 may have no shame, but I still do. Tomorrow, you are not getting married. Quentin slammed the table again. What right do you have to tell us what to do? I gave a cold, contemptuous laugh. Because right now, she's still my wife. You. Lucy grabbed his arm. Stop fighting. I'll just go alone tomorrow. Quentin's anger instantly vanished. He turned to her and said gently, Okay, whatever you say. I won't come tomorrow. Let's go home. Lucy glanced at me, hesitated for a moment, but still left with Quentin. The door slammed shut. The room fell deathly silent. I stood frozen in the middle of the living room, thinking about the 10 years I cherished Lucy, how easily she had discarded it all, feeling heartbroken and furious. Suddenly, my stomach clenched violently. A metallic, sweet taste rose in my throat. I opened my mouth and vomited a mouthful of fresh blood. Dizzy, my vision blurring, my stomach cramped sharply, each spasm tighter than the last. Clutching my stomach, I slowly made my way to the sofa and sat down, afraid to move for a while. My gaze fell on the wall. A picture frame hung there, holding a photo of Lucy Brown and me. Looking at her innocent, harmless smile, the pain in my stomach intensified. Even now, I couldn't believe my marriage was ending so abruptly, catching me completely off guard. The girl I'd watched grow up, the girl I'd always protected, was ready to ruthlessly abandon me for a pathological liar. My phone rang. It was my lawyer, asking if I'd arrived yet. Gritting my teeth against the pain, I said, I can't make it over to do the will today. Can you please bring my parents' wills to my house tomorrow instead? All right. After hanging up, I thought about how, just recently at the hospital, I'd planned to leave everything to Lucy Brown. A bitter smile touched my lips. How could I have been so stupid? So blind to the fact she'd already betrayed our marriage. Well, now that we're divorcing, she could forget about certain assets. I wouldn't let that bastard Quinn Wilson get his hands on my money. That night, filled with anxiety and plagued by the stomach pain, I didn't sleep a wink. The next day, I met Lucy Brown at the county clerk's office with my lawyer. As expected, Quinn Wilson didn't show up. My lawyer informed Lucy Brown that my parents had left wills stating that all assets under their names were left solely to me. The 2 houses and 2 commercial properties were bought by my parents and are still registered in their names, as I haven't completed the inheritance process yet. Therefore, now that we're divorcing, we can only divide the assets currently held in our names. Lucy Brown used to have a job, but in our 2nd year of marriage, she got pregnant, then unfortunately miscarried. She quit her job to recover at home. She never went back to work after that. I could support her anyway, so I didn't mind whether she worked or not. I worked for the Thompson family company, earning a salary of $100,000 a month, and I gave Lucy Brown $20,000 for her personal spending. Knowing my parents were wealthy, we both spent money extravagantly, never thinking about saving. We often treated friends to meals and traveled both domestically and internationally. Every season, Lucy Brown had to buy the latest clothes, always designer labels and big brands. Even for everyday items, we always bought the best. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say we spent money like water. As a result, not only did we have no savings, but we also needed my parents to subsidize us. After my parents passed away, I spent the last 6 months grieving. I wasn't in the mood to go out and stopped all recreational activities, which is how we finally managed to save something. But our combined savings only amount to $500,000. I said, that car we bought for over $1 million? Its depreciated value is about $500,000, which means our total marital assets are only $1 million. You get half, which is $500,000. Any objections? Lucy Brown was silent for a moment, then said no. I was actually a bit surprised. I thought she'd argue with me. Maybe it was because the lawyer was present, or maybe she saw my parents' wills and knew arguing was pointless. I asked, do you want the car or the cash? She hesitated, then said, it's only $1 million. Can't you just give it all to me? I almost laughed. And why would I do that? Lucy Brown's face flushed as she said, you still have your parents' huge inheritance. I'll have nothing. Once we're divorced, what does your future have to do with me? Come on, we were married for years. I shook my head. We were married, and I'm giving you $500,000. That's more than fair. Nothing else is negotiable. If we were still married, I might have given her everything. But now that we're divorcing, I don't want to give her a penny more than I have to. Lucy Brown got angry. I never knew you were so cheap. Ethan Thompson, knowing you all these years. Divorcing you is the best decision I've ever made. I scoffed. You cheated during the marriage. You're the one at fault. If I sued for divorce, you wouldn't even get the $500,000. Lucy Brown's face instantly flushed red. She glanced at the lawyer. She was clearly embarrassed that a stranger knew about her affair. But the lawyer thought she was looking to him for legal confirmation and nodded. If it goes to court, the party at fault typically receives a smaller share of the assets. Lucy Brown changed her tune. Just keep the car. I can't drive anyway. I handed her the divorce agreement. Sign it. With the agreement signed, the divorce certificate was processed quickly. I transferred the $500,000 to her, and we officially went our separate ways. Lucy Brown left in a taxi. I walked out of the county clerk's office too. The lawyer, noticing how calm I'd been, said I was going to offer some words of comfort, but you seem to be holding up okay. I shook my head, smiling faintly. No need. I'm free now. It's fine. Back home in Pinecrest Heights, staring at the empty rooms, my composure finally shattered. A childhood friendship, an adult love, a 10-year marriage, the relationship I had nurtured with my whole heart, all of it disintegrated in that instant. Remembering Lucy Brown admitting she'd been cheating for a long time, fury surged through me, becoming unbearable. I grabbed my thermos and hurled it violently against the wall. Crash! It struck a glass picture frame, shattering it. I snatched the photo and ripped it in two. Then I stormed into the bedroom, tore our wedding portrait off the wall above the bed, and shredded it. Soon, the room was a wreck. My stomach cramped violently. I coughed up blood again. I doubled over onto the sofa, trembling all over, my vision darkening. I felt like I was dying. Maybe it would be better to die. Then I could be reunited with Mom and Dad. After I died, my parents' inheritance could be donated to the country. Better that than leaving it to someone ungrateful. Suddenly, a sharp pain stabbed through my stomach, like a knife twisting inside. Everything went black, and I lost consciousness. I had a long dream. I dreamed I was very young again, watching baby Lucy Brown gurgling and waving her arms and legs. My mom asked me, "Ethan, do you like your little sister?" I touched the little girl's face in her mother's arms and grinned. "Yes. Do you want your little sister to be your wife someday?" "Yes." Lucy Brown's mother laughed. "Then you have to protect your sister well, so she'll want to marry you when she grows up." I promised, "Auntie, I will protect my sister." Lucy Brown grew older day by day. I carried her on my back, held her in my arms, carefully protecting her. When she started school, I went with her, walking her there and back every day. If anyone bullied her, I always got revenge for her. In the blink of an eye, the little girl grew up. I knelt on one knee, holding out a ring. "Lucy, I love you. I want to protect you for the rest of our lives. Will you spend it with me?" She nodded shyly. "I will." I slipped the ring onto her finger and joyfully spun her around in my arms. Suddenly, Lucy Brown pulled the ring off and threw it on the ground. "The wedding's off. I'm not marrying you." I asked, stunned, "Why?" "I'm going to marry him." She pulled a man out from behind her. "His name is Quentin Wilson. He's my colleague. He saved my life, and I'm going to marry him." I said, "If you feel sorry for him, you can take care of him like a brother." Quentin Wilson exploded in anger. "How dare you humiliate me? You'll regret this." He turned and stormed away. Lucy Brown reached out to steady him. "Slow down." Quentin Wilson shoved her hand away. "Get lost. I don't need your pity." "I'm not pitying you. I'm worried about you." Lucy Brown insisted, trying to support him again. I lost my temper and yelled at her, "Lucy Brown, if you walk out that door today, don't ever come back." Lucy Brown stopped in her tracks. "Ethan Thompson. Ethan Thompson." Who was calling me? I tried to answer, but my mouth wouldn't open. I tried to see who it was, but my eyes wouldn't open. The voice faded, and I sank back into endless darkness. Why isn't he awake yet? A familiar voice drifted into my ears. I forced my eyes open and saw Lucy Brown, her eyes red and swollen. "What happened?" I asked, sitting up. Tears welled up in Lucy Brown's eyes. "Why didn't you tell me you were sick?" I realized I was in a room at Massachusetts General Hospital. Then I remembered what happened before I collapsed. I'd forgotten we were divorced. I thought something had upset her and almost asked what was wrong. I lay back down, asking coldly, "And what difference would telling you have made? Would you have called off the divorce?" She said nothing. "Divorce?" A voice came from the doorway. My good friend, Alex Miller, stepped inside. He glanced from me to Lucy Brown. "You two got divorced? When? Weren't things fine just a few days ago?" Looking embarrassed, Lucy Brown hurried out. Alex Miller was not only my friend, but also the vice president of Thompson Family Corp. He was older and treated me like a younger brother. He explained that he needed my signature on a document. While I didn't answer his calls, he tried Lucy Brown. I hadn't disabled her fingerprint access on my door yet, so she let herself in. They found me unconscious on the sofa, blood staining the floor around me. They brought me straight to the hospital, where the doctors diagnosed me with stomach cancer. Alex Miller really laid into me for hiding both the divorce and my illness. "It's just a divorce, man. The world keeps spinning," he said. "And stomach cancer isn't always a death sentence. Get good treatment, and you could live another 30, maybe 50 years. Are you short on cash because of the divorce?" "I can help." I nodded. "I have money. I'll get the treatment." The pain this time had been unbearable. I decided I had to take treatment seriously, fight for a few more years. "That's the spirit," Alex said. "Focus on getting well. When you're out, I'll set you up with someone young and gorgeous." I managed a wry smile and shook my head. "Forget about marriage for now. I was thinking of traveling for a while." "Good idea. A trip would do you good, clear your head. Don't worry about the company. I'll handle everything." After getting out of the hospital, I finalized the inheritance procedures, officially making me a minor tycoon worth $42. $86 million. Then I started traveling. Flying all over the globe felt liberating. As I lingered at scenic spots, breathing in plenty of fresh air, my stomach pain became infrequent. 2 months later, Lucy Brown called. "Ethan Thompson, where are you?" she asked. "Traveling abroad," I answered. "When will you be back?" "Why? Is something wrong?" After a long pause, she said, "I'm pregnant. It's yours." My mind went blank, buzzing. All these years, she hadn't conceived. How could she be pregnant now? After the initial shock, overwhelming joy washed over me. I had always wanted a child. Ever since we married, for 10 whole years, I'd longed for one. Once, Lucy Brown had gotten pregnant, but she miscarried. She hadn't seemed overly distraught, but I was devastated. Afraid of upsetting her further, I hid my grief and mourned alone. To her face, I had to comfort her, saying, maybe it just wasn't meant to be with this one. It's okay, we could try again. But she never conceived after that. I never thought she'd get pregnant now, so suddenly. My parents must be overjoyed wherever they are. They had always hoped I'd have a child soon. Finally, I could give them this news. I was too choked up with emotion to say anything for a moment. On the other end, Lucy Brown stammered. It's real. A chill ran down my spine. Why the emphasis? Why was she stammering? It hit me. Lucy and I had been divorced for over 2 months. The baby wasn't necessarily mine. I calmed down instantly. How can you prove it's mine? I asked. She said, Quentin Wilson didn't want kids. He always used protection. We didn't use anything when we were together. It was true. We hadn't used birth control. But I didn't believe for a second that Quentin Wilson didn't want kids. Then wait until the baby's born, and we'll get a paternity test, I said coldly. If the child was mine, I'd take it and raise it. If not, she wouldn't get a single cent out of me. Half a month later, my trip ended, and I returned home. The next day, I went to Massachusetts General Hospital for a follow-up appointment. I had just walked into the lobby when I heard arguing. Looking closer, I saw it was Lucy and Quentin Wilson. Quentin Wilson was yelling loudly at Lucy. What did the checkup show? Is it deformed? Can they tell if it's a boy or a girl? They found nothing, just said normal. Wasn't that a waste of money? Lucy, her face pale, retorted, you need prenatal checkups when you're pregnant. How is that a waste? That kid isn't mine. Why should I pay for checkups? Lucy shot back, angry and flustered. I didn't use your money. I used my own. What the hell did you just say? You married me. Your money is my money. Quentin Wilson raised his hand to slap Lucy. My fists clenched instantly. Just like years ago in school, whenever I saw someone bullying Lucy, I'd clench my fists and jump in. Protecting her had become almost an instinct. Even divorced, I couldn't stand seeing her being treated like this. Hey, someone nearby shouted. You can't hit her, or I'm calling the police. Quentin Wilson froze, then turned and saw me. Lucy saw me too, and suddenly tears were streaming down her face. My fists unclenched. I realized I no longer had the right to protect her. Quentin Wilson was her husband now. Couples fight all the time, and even if he hit her, it was domestic abuse between them. If I stepped in and hit Quentin Wilson for Lucy, I'd just be meddling. Lucy might even press charges against me. Then I'd really be asking for trouble. Quentin Wilson looked at Lucy and sneered. Still claiming it's not his kid? If it's not his, why did he show up here while you're getting a checkup? If I hadn't followed you today, were you two planning a secret rendezvous right here in the hospital? Tears welled in Lucy's eyes out of anger. Ethan Thompson is here picking up medication. What does that have to do with me? Nothing to do with you? Then how did you know he was here for medication? Because he has a condition. How do you know he has a condition? You really care about him, don't you? Fine, then get lost. Go back to him. Quentin Wilson stormed off. Lucy glanced at me, then ran out after him. I walked further into the hospital, my chest tight with a dull ache. Lucy was the woman I cherished more than anything. We were married for 10 years, and I could never even bring myself to say a harsh word to her. Now I had to watch her being berated and nearly hit by her so-called husband. But this was her choice. What could I do? All I could do was ache for myself. Ache for all the years I'd loved Lucy, unable to keep her by my side, unable to keep her heart. Ache for how everything I'd given had been for nothing. Even now, I couldn't understand why Lucy would hurt me like this. We were supposed to be everything to each other, yet she'd fallen for a lowlife like Quentin Wilson. 10 years ago, she'd wanted to break off our engagement to marry him. 10 years later, she'd left me for him all over again. As the pain tightened in my chest, my stomach started to feel uneasy again. I quickly pulled myself together, telling myself, thank goodness we're divorced. Otherwise, they probably would have cheated on me again, and I might have even ended up raising Quentin Wilson's illegitimate kid. I really dodged a bullet. Feeling much better, I went into Massachusetts General Hospital. The doctor said I was doing well. Keep taking your medication and maintain a positive attitude, and the stomach pain will gradually subside. I was very happy. When I got back to Pinecrest Heights, Lucy Brown was waiting for me at the entrance. Seeing me get out of the car, she ran over and said, Ethan Thompson, I wasn't lying. The baby really is yours. I replied coolly, didn't I tell you? Have the baby, and we'll get a paternity test. I started walking towards Pinecrest Heights, and she followed close behind. I stopped. What else do you want? You. Lucy Brown looked at me, her face flushed, and stammered, Could you lend me some? Money first. I looked at her. $500,000? You spent all of it in just over 2 months? She said sheepishly, well, we bought a Tesla Model S, and there wasn't much left after that. Then we bought some furniture, and now it's all gone. I asked sarcastically. Don't either of you work? He has a job, but he says he won't help support your kid. I scoffed. We're divorced. That baby you're carrying has nothing to do with me now. Whoever you're married to, that's whose kid it is. She was stunned. Is that true? I added. Wait until the baby is born and we do a DNA test. If it turns out to be mine, I'll fulfill my responsibilities. I'll take the child and raise it myself. But until you have proof that the child is mine, don't expect a dime from me. I strode away. The next day, I returned to work at Thompson Group. Alex Miller had been managing the company well in my absence, but he was clearly exhausted. He said, "You're finally back. How are you feeling? Any improvement?" I nodded. "Much better. I can see that. You've got good color. You look energetic. Not like a patient at all." I smiled. "You must be exhausted. Why don't you take a few days off? Go home and get some proper rest." "All right." Alex Miller laughed. "And when I get back, I'll introduce you to a girlfriend. She's gorgeous. I guarantee you won't be disappointed." I shook my head. I felt like it would be hard for me to ever get over the hurt Lucy Brown had caused. However, I would later realize that my conclusion was premature. Nothing was set in stone. Anything was possible. 2 months later, I saw Lucy Brown again at the entrance to Pinecrest Heights. Her belly was noticeably larger. She looked at the young woman beside me and asked hesitantly, "Is this your new girlfriend?" I nodded. "Yes." Jessica Davis confidently introduced herself. "Ms. Brown, I'm Ethan's partner. My name is Jessica Davis, but you can call me Jessica." Lucy Brown looked at Jessica Davis's youthful face and asked, "Isn't there a big age difference between you two?" Jessica Davis replied, "Not really. Ethan's only 10 years older than me." 10 years older, I thought. Asterisk, that's a significant gap. Asterisk, I was only 4 years older than Lucy Brown. Lucy Brown was silent for a moment, then said, "Excuse me, but I need to speak with Ethan Thompson about something." Jessica Davis tactfully replied, "Okay, you two talk. I'll head home and get started on meal prep." Lucy Brown watched Jessica Davis walk in the complex, then turned to me and asked, "Does she know you have stomach cancer?" "She knows. She's so much younger than you. Are you sure about this?" I raised an eyebrow. Alex Miller introduced us. She's fully aware of my situation. Jessica Davis is Alex Miller's cousin. She graduated from Stanford and came to intern at our company, becoming a full-time employee just recently. So, I had known her for a while, but I'd always thought of her as a kid sister and looked out for her accordingly. When Alex Miller came back from his time off, the person he wanted to set me up with turned out to be Jessica Davis. I had initially refused. I told him, I have stomach cancer and I'm significantly older than her. Dating me would be completely unfair to her. "Jessica knows you," Alex Miller said. "She knows all about your situation. She's mentioned before how much she admires you." No matter what he said, I still refused. It had only been 2 months since my divorce. I really wasn't ready to think about getting serious with someone. That weekend, Jessica Davis came over to my place with Alex Miller. Alex kept insisting how great Jessica Davis was. "Whether it works out or not, why don't you just try spending some time together?" I shook my head. "She's 10 years younger than me. There's too much of an age difference." "What age difference? Don't I know you? You're not some stuffy old man. And Jessica Davis isn't some naive kid. She's very mature for her age. Just give it a try. If it doesn't work out, you can always break up." It was hard to refuse his pushy matchmaking, so I could only agree to try dating Jessica Davis. Honestly, at my age, I wasn't really passionate about love anymore. I never thought we'd last long. I figured we'd definitely break up eventually. Jessica Davis was incredibly helpful. As soon as she arrived, she'd head straight into the kitchen to cook. Knowing I had stomach issues, she specifically made chicken soup because it was easy to digest. She consistently took the initiative to get closer to me and take care of me. I gradually learned that both her parents had passed away, and she had been staying with various relatives. Later, when her cousin Alex Miller bought a house, she spent more time living there. She told me, "Ethan, my cousin is getting married soon, so I can't really stay at his place anymore. I really want a home of my own." My heart softened. I thought about how, even though I had a house, it was empty and lonely. It didn't feel like a home at all. Here was a wonderful girl like Jessica Davis, who accepted me despite my past. Why should I disappoint her or make her feel insecure? So, we officially started dating. Suddenly, Lucy Brown burst into tears. "I regret it, Ethan Thompson. I shouldn't have divorced you. Let's get back together." I found it almost funny. You obsessed over Quentin Wilson for 10 years, and now you regret it less than half a year after marrying him? "Yes," she choked out between sobs. "He lied to me. Everything he told me before was a lie. He tricked me into divorcing you." I fell for it completely. Before, whenever she shed a tear, my heart would ache. Now, Even though she was sobbing uncontrollably, I felt nothing. I couldn't believe how intense my love for her had once been, only for it to vanish completely just 6 months after we separated. When love gets hurt that badly, you just want to forget it as quickly as possible. You're married to him now, and I have a girlfriend, I said. There's no way we can get back together. Please leave. I turned and walked back towards my community entrance. Behind me, she was crying wretchedly, sounding heartbroken and pitiful, but I didn't look back. The heart she had broken was dead. Her sorrow had nothing to do with me anymore. Later, Lucy Brown came looking for me a few more times, but I refused to see her. One day, I was busy in my office at Thompson Group when security called. Your ex-wife is here asking to see you, the guard reported. I won't see her, I said. A little while later, security called again. Your ex-wife is kneeling at the entrance. She says if you don't see her, she won't get up. I was furious. Let her kneel. Ignore her. Not long after, Alex Miller rushed in. Ethan, what's going on with Lucy Brown? Why is she kneeling outside our company in trance? Ignore her, I repeated. I don't want to get involved either, but someone filmed it and posted it online. Posted it online. My stomach dropped. This could generate a lot of negative publicity for the company. Alex held his phone out to me. Look, when I saw the video, a sharp pain shot through my heart. Lucy Brown was kneeling perfectly straight, facing the company entrance, her face etched with misery, tears streaming down. Her pregnant belly was unmistakable. I had thought we were completely finished, that all ties between us were severed. I had believed my heart had turned to stone regarding her, that I could ignore everything about her, unmoved by her joys or sorrows. But seeing her like this, right now, still pierced me deeply. This is the girl I watched grow up, the girl I loved and protected for 10 years, the one I couldn't bear to see shed a single tear. Now she's kneeling on a busy street, pathetically begging to see me. That bastard, Quentin Wilson, how could he have pushed her to this point? Alex Miller pointed and said, Look, the video clearly shows the Thompson Group name. It's deliberately trying to smear us. I snapped back to reality, realizing that feeling sorry for Lucy Brown right now was just a joke. My gaze shifted to the text below. The scumbag used her for 10 years. She had 8 or 9 abortions for him. And now that she's past her prime, he divorced her, not even caring about the child in her belly. Netizens, unaware of the situation, were railing against me. Holy shit, married 10 years, 8 or 9 abortions? Is he even human? He must be an animal. No normal person would be so inhumane. Does the scumbag work for this company? Report him to the boss. Get him fired. What if the scumbag is the CEO? Whether he's the CEO or just an employee, I'm boycotting this company forever. However, netizens nowadays don't just follow the herd. They think independently, so there were other voices in the comment section. Is this video even real? Once a woman is married, isn't it her decision whether or not to have children? Yeah, if the man didn't want kids, she shouldn't have gotten pregnant. How much does birth control cost? Exactly. After losing the first child, she should have known the guy was trash. Why keep getting pregnant? Getting pregnant and then terminating 8 or 9 times. Isn't she just harming her own body? Are there really women this foolish? All I can say is, she brought it on herself. It's sad, but you also get angry that she didn't fight back. Pitiful people often have their own failings. The more I look, the faker it seems. Probably a staged skit. Why film a skit right in front of someone's company? Aren't they just trying to cause trouble? Then, many identical comments appeared, using the exact same phrasing. Setting the facts aside, doesn't the man bear any responsibility for getting the woman pregnant so many times? Setting the facts aside, the woman gave 10 years of her youth to the man, and now she's pregnant and abandoned. Isn't that man still a scumbag? Setting the facts aside, this man, he just has no humanity. Setting the facts aside, men are all trash. You fucking set the facts aside. What the hell is there left to talk about? Alex Miller said, this is obviously paid trolls, deliberately posting nonsense to muddy the waters. Lucy Brown's current man must be behind this video, right? He probably hired the trolls too. I nodded. He's the one pulling the strings. I knew Quentin Wilson's goal was to extort money from me. Before the divorce, he helped Lucy Brown calculate things and figured she could get $150 million from the divorce, plus houses and storefronts. Lucy Brown probably didn't tell him at the time that I actually only gave her $500,000. After they got married, they quickly blew through the $500,000, and only then did Lucy Brown tell him the truth. Quentin Wilson had pushed Lucy Brown to divorce me specifically for that $150 million. Not getting that money must have been eating him up inside. That's why he kept pushing Lucy Brown to come ask me for money, but without success. So today, he forced Lucy Brown to kneel outside my company entrance, trying to blow things up and force my hand. Alex Miller asked, "What should we do? Should I call the police to get rid of them?" I shook my head. "We get rid of them today, they'll just come back tomorrow." "True." Alex Miller slammed his fist on the table angrily. "Lucy Brown is pregnant. The police can't exactly detain her. If she comes here kneeling every day, it won't take long for her to completely ruin our company's reputation." I thought for a moment, then said, "Tell security to let them come up." After Alex Miller relayed the message, Lucy Brown and Quentin Wilson arrived together shortly after. I asked, "What exactly do you two want?" Lucy Brown kept her head down and said nothing. Quentin Wilson shouted, "She's carrying your child. You have to pay child support and take care of her." I looked at Lucy Brown. She didn't look up or speak. I asked how much. Quentin Wilson demanded an outrageous sum. $2 million at least. I said, "We can't even be sure the child is mine right now. Why should I pay child support?" Quentin Wilson slammed his hand on the table, aggressively saying, "Because I said so. We always used protection whenever we slept together. How could she possibly be pregnant with my kid?" I shot back. "Just because you say you use protection? Why should I believe you? Believe it or not, you're paying this $2 million whether you like it or not." I scoffed. "And if I don't?" Quentin Wilson said arrogantly, "If you don't pay, I'll keep posting online. I'll ruin your reputation and make sure your company goes under." Jessica Davis, my secretary, was standing behind me. She whispered, "Mr. Thompson, maybe just give it to him. If something happens to the company, the loss will be much greater." I sighed and said, "Fine, I'll pay. But you have to delete the videos you posted online." Perhaps I agreed too readily. Quentin Wilson suddenly raised the price. $2 million isn't enough. I want $5 million. My expression changed. "You going back on your word?" Quentin Wilson said, "You've got $300 million. I'm only asking for $5 million. That's barely a fraction of what you have in the bank. Is that too much? Are you paying or not? If you don't, I'll post more videos. I've got plenty of dirt on you." Jessica Davis urged me again, "Mr. Thompson, just pay it. Think of it as buying peace of mind for $5 million." I transferred the money to Quentin Wilson. "You can go now, right?" Quentin Wilson beamed. Sure. "Hey, buddy, I like how straightforward you are. Let's cooperate more in the future." He wanted to extort even more from me. Quentin Wilson pulled Lucy Brown along. "Let's go, honey. When we get home, I'll buy a chicken and make you some soup. You need to build up your strength. In another couple of months, you can give birth to a big, healthy boy." Lucy Brown looked at me with tears in her eyes, following him reluctantly, seemingly unwilling to leave. But Quentin Wilson still dragged her out. The door closed. I called the police and reported that I had been blackmailed and extorted for $5 million. For the local police department, a case involving $5 million was definitely not a minor issue. So the police arrived quickly to investigate. I explained what happened. My office has security cameras, and they copied the video footage. The evidence was solid. Quentin Wilson had repeatedly threatened me and was clearly suspected of blackmail and extortion. Soon, Quentin Wilson and Lucy Brown were arrested. After a police investigation, it was determined that Quentin Wilson was the primary planner behind the extortion. He had forced Lucy Brown to come and kneel outside my company. The proof was that Lucy Brown was covered in bruises and injuries. The police confirmed that filming the videos and the blackmail were all Quentin Wilson's doing. Therefore, Lucy Brown was released. Afterward, Lucy Brown recorded a video and posted it online, telling her story. "My husband, Quentin Wilson, forced me to go to my ex-husband's company to extort him. My ex-husband and I were together for 10 years, and we had a good relationship. But then Quentin Wilson came along and deceived me with his smooth talk. My ex-husband and I divorced amicably, and he was extremely generous to me in the settlement. It was only after marrying Quentin Wilson that I realized he was a good-for-nothing loafer with no real job. He didn't work and made no effort to find a job. I got pregnant shortly after we got together, so I couldn't work either. We both lived off the money my ex-husband gave me in the divorce settlement. Soon, the money ran out. Quentin Wilson forced me to go ask my ex-husband for money, falsely claiming the baby was his. My ex-husband didn't believe it. So Quentin Wilson forced me to go kneel outside my ex-husband's company, threatening to ruin his reputation if he didn't pay. I felt I had already wronged my ex-husband enough and didn't want to bother him anymore. So Quentin Wilson beat me. He hit me with a belt, burned me with cigarettes, kicked me. In the video, I saw Lucy Brown covered in bruises and scars. Everywhere except her stomach, her shoulders, back, legs was marked. Quentin Wilson avoided her stomach specifically so he could use the baby to extort money from me. Lucy Brown continued. In the 10 years I was married to my ex-husband, I only got pregnant once, but I miscarried. My ex-husband always thought the miscarriage was an accident, but it wasn't. Quentin Wilson caused it. One day, on my way home from work, Quentin Wilson hit me with his bicycle and knocked me down. He took me to Massachusetts General Hospital, and that's when I lost the baby. He apologized profusely and promised to make it up to me. I was afraid my husband would go after him, so I lied and told my husband I'd accidentally fallen, and that's what caused the miscarriage. My fists clenched tightly. I couldn't believe it. The child I had longed for was lost because of Quentin Wilson, and I never imagined Lucy Brown had gotten involved with Quentin Wilson so early on. No wonder she didn't seem that devastated when she miscarried, even though I was heartbroken. Lucy Brown went on. Even though I didn't tell my husband the truth, I was still furious, because I knew how much my husband wanted children. Losing this baby would crush him. I told Quentin Wilson to get lost and stay away from me. He left. When my husband found out about the miscarriage, his eyes immediately turned red. But he didn't blame me at all. He just comforted me, saying we could have more children. I hoped to get pregnant again, too, but for the next 9 years, it never happened. The strange thing is, after my divorce, I married Quentin Wilson, and just 2 months later, I was pregnant. Then, not long ago, Quentin Wilson got drunk and confessed that the reason my ex-husband and I never had another child was because he'd been putting birth control pills in the milk tea he kept giving me. After he caused my miscarriage that year, I initially wanted nothing to do with him. But he was shameless, always finding ways to run into me and offering me milk tea. I thought he was genuinely sorry, but how could I have known he was scheming to prevent me from having my husband's child? It's all my fault. I was blind. I let Quentin Wilson deceive me. I hurt my child, I hurt myself, and I nearly ruined my ex-husband's reputation. Blame me if you must. Curse me, but please, leave my ex-husband alone. He truly did nothing wrong. I'm the one who failed him. I was shaking all over. I couldn't understand how a woman like Lucy Brown could be so foolish. She ignored all the good things I did for her, yet she trusted a liar like Quentin Wilson. She kept everything about Quentin Wilson completely hidden from me. If I had known Quentin Wilson caused the miscarriage of our child, I would never have let him get away with it. If I had known he was constantly buying her milk tea, I would have insisted she stay away from him. But what good does saying any of this do now? No matter how much she regrets it, time can't be turned back. No matter how much I hate him, Quentin Wilson has already been arrested. I can't go beat him up now. Jessica Davis came up behind me, wrapped her arms around my waist, and pressed her cheek against my back. She always had her own unique way of comforting me, dissolving the hatred and anger in my heart. My emotions quickly settled. I patted her hand and said, "I'm okay now. Don't worry." Jessica Davis moved in front of me, put her arms around my neck, tilted her head up to look at me, and said softly, "Let's get married. I want to be the mother of your children." I looked down at her youthful face and said, "If you marry me, you'll spend the rest of your life taking care of someone who's always needing medication. Are you sure you won't regret it?" She shook her head. "I won't regret it. I'll nurse you back to health, and we'll grow old together." At that moment, I was so moved I wanted to cry. I held her and said, "Okay, I'll start planning the wedding ceremony." Once Lucy Brown's video came out, public opinion completely flipped. Everyone online turned on Quentin Wilson and Lucy Brown, though some people sympathized with me. The negative press surrounding Thompson Group vanished, and business started booming. Alex Miller laughed. "Lucy Brown's little stunt actually did us a huge favor." I managed to smile, but inside I felt conflicted. Lucy Brown had done it to help me, deliberately drawing the public's anger onto herself. She was the only one whose account would be truly convincing. Of course, I didn't feel the need to thank her. She owed me that. Helping me was probably just to ease her own conscience. Quentin Wilson was convicted of both blackmail and abuse and sentenced to 15 years. Finally, the whole affair was over. Lucy Brown didn't contact me again. I was busy planning the wedding ceremony with Jessica Davis. But when I asked her to go to the county clerk's office to get her marriage license, she refused. "Let's just have the ceremony," she said. "We don't need to get the license." I was confused. "Why not?" She hesitated for a long moment, then blushed. "I don't want people saying, 'I only married you for your money.'" I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. The girl was clearly scarred by my divorce and the whole asset division mess. No wonder people are reluctant to marry someone they know too well. You know too much about each other's past, and some topics are just awkward to discuss. Marriage is about the two of us, I told her seriously. We don't have to care what other people say. She shook her head. "If we have to get the license, fine, but let's get a prenuptial agreement outlining our assets first." I knew she was trying to take the pressure off me. I also didn't want her constantly worrying about gossip after we got married, so I agreed. Okay, we can sort out the premarital assets, I said, but we also need to sign a prenuptial agreement. All right, she nodded, agreeing without even asking what the agreement would contain. The prenup I drafted stated, "We will love and respect each other, be tolerant and understanding, and do our utmost to grow old together. Should we divorce due to incompatibility, I will give Jessica Davis $14.29 million. She immediately refused. No, I can't sign this. Look, I said, you wanted to document the assets to reassure me. I wrote this prenup to reassure you. It shows we both want to give each other security, so let's not put this off any longer. After a fair bit of persuading, she finally signed. We got our marriage license without any further issues. The wedding ceremony wasn't extravagant. We only invited close friends and family and kept it out of the media. Afterwards, we left for our honeymoon. One downside to a second marriage is that you can't help but compare it to the first. And after making those comparisons, I felt I was failing Jessica Davis. I had spoiled Lucy Brown like a little sister, planning everything around her. Our honeymoon destination was a place she loved. When cooking, I always chose flavors she preferred. Even though I didn't like spicy food, I made sure there were spicy dishes at every meal because she enjoyed them. I watched her grow up, knew all her likes and dislikes inside out. Everything I chose, everything I bought, she loved. But Jessica Davis was different. I knew almost nothing about her past, her hobbies, or her tastes. Yet everything she bought, everything she did, revolved around my interests. She knew about my sensitive stomach and that I couldn't handle spicy food, so she never cooked anything spicy, claiming she didn't like it much either. She considered me in everything. After we got back from the honeymoon, I was busy at the office one day when I received a call from an unknown number. It was Massachusetts General Hospital. Hello, we have a pregnant patient here who is hemorrhaging severely. Her condition is critical and she needs immediate surgery, but there's no family here to sign the consent forms. She gave a name and said to her brother, "Could you please come down?" I guess something had happened to Lucy Brown. Lucy Brown's parents were both gone, and she only had a half-brother. But she hadn't spoken to him in years, so he certainly wouldn't be there for her surgery. But I was a married man now. Was it really appropriate for me to go sign consent forms for my ex? Jessica Davis saw me staring blankly after hanging up the phone and asked, "What's wrong?" I looked at her and said, "That was Mass General. Apparently, Lucy Brown's gone into labor and needs surgery, but there's no family to sign for her." Jessica Davis said, "Lucy sees you like a brother now. Childbirth is life or death. You can't delay. You should go sign." I was deeply moved. My wife was so understanding. Jessica Davis brought me my coat. "Go on, hurry. This wife of mine, she always remembers to put a coat on my shoulders when it's cold, or hold an umbrella over me when it rains. With Lucy Brown, it was the other way around. I was always the one putting a coat on her, holding the umbrella, but when I do the same for Jessica Davis, she gets reserved and uncomfortable. I thought about how she'd grown up an orphan, living with relatives. Maybe it had made her into a people pleaser. That's probably why she struggles to have her own opinions and is used to taking care of others, but not used to being taken care of. My heart ached for her. I hoped that after marrying me, I could help her slowly gain confidence and learn to live boldly for herself. I gave her a hug, put on my coat, and left. I rushed to Massachusetts General Hospital and learned that Lucy Brown was unconscious and needed my signature immediately. I stared at the stack of consent forms in my hand, but the words wouldn't register. The doctor quickly explained Lucy Brown's situation. The patient said she fell, which disturbed the pregnancy. She went to urgent care first, which caused a significant delay. The baby wasn't delivered, so she was transferred here. Right now, both the mother and the fetus are in critical condition. Even with surgery, there's no guarantee both mother and child will survive. I cut the doctor off. Prioritize saving the mother. The child might be innocent, but this was Quentin Wilson's mess. If only one could be saved, I couldn't choose his child. Lucy Brown and I grew up together. Even if we weren't husband and wife anymore, there was still a bond, like siblings. What was Quentin Wilson to me? Of course, if the child was strong enough to survive, I wouldn't harm him. I'm not a saint, but I wouldn't be purely evil either. I signed the papers, and the doctor hurried back inside. I sat on a chair in the hallway, staring at the operating room doors, when I suddenly remembered Lucy Brown's miscarriage years ago. I was at work when her call came out of the blue. She said she'd accidentally fallen. Her stomach hurt terribly, and she was already at the hospital. I rushed over, thinking the fall had just threatened the pregnancy, and she'd be fine after some bed rest at the hospital. But the doctor told me the baby was gone. I was devastated back then, but she never told me it was Quentin Wilson who hit her, causing the miscarriage. Now, Sitting here felt incredibly ironic. Ridiculous, even. My child, still just an embryo, had been killed by Quentin Wilson. And here I was, signing papers to save his child. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. I left the hospital. Back home in Pinecrest Heights, Jessica Davis met me at the door. "How's Lucy?" "I signed the papers," I replied. "Is her surgery over? Are they both okay?" I shook my head. "I don't know." I left right after signing. Jessica Davis froze. Seeing the look in her eyes, I asked, "Was that too cold?" Jessica Davis quickly shook her head. "No, you just know who you love and who you hate. I know you don't hate Lucy. You hate Quentin Wilson. You didn't want to see his child born." I held her inside. This girl was so much smarter than Lucy Brown. Just then, my phone rang. It was Mass General calling. I stared at it for a long moment, not answering. "Answer it," Jessica Davis said. "Let's see what's going on." I answered and put it on speaker. I didn't want to hide anything from Jessica Davis anymore. The nurse on the other end started rattling off angrily. "What's going on with the family?" "The patient's out of surgery, and there's no family member in sight, and the bill hasn't been paid. The surgery and hospital fees are outstanding. You need to come settle this immediately." I remembered then, when I signed the consent forms, the nurse had told me to go pay the bill. But I was so out of it, I'd completely forgotten. "You should probably go pay it for her," Jessica Davis said. "Things can get uncomfortable for patients at the hospital if their bills aren't paid." I agreed and headed back to Massachusetts General Hospital. Lucy Brown had been moved to a recovery room after a surgery. She was still unconscious. I looked around and asked the nurse, "Where's the baby?" The nurse snapped, "A little late to be asking about the baby now, don't you think? We couldn't save it." I froze for a second before it hit me. Her last words meant the baby was gone. Seeing my silence, the nurse added, "The fetus was asphyxiated for too long, severe oxygen deprivation. We did everything we could, but we couldn't revive it." I didn't say anything. My emotions were a tangled mess. A part of me, initially, felt a flicker of relief that the baby hadn't survived. I thought someone as terrible as Quentin Wilson didn't deserve to have children. But then I realized how dangerous that thought was. People would call me cruel, saying the baby was innocent, condemning me for having such a venomous thought about a newborn. I also wondered, when Lucy Brown woke up and found out about the baby, would she be able to handle it? I looked at Lucy Brown's face, completely drained of color, and remembered how adorable she was as a child. I'd adored her back then. During those naive years of my youth, I dreamed of marrying her, spending our lives together. Then I thought about how romantic it was when we were dating. Truly the best time of my life, carefree, always dreaming about our wonderful future together. Finally, I thought of the bitterness of our divorce. How two people who were once family could become strangers just like that. As the nurse was leaving, she suddenly asked, "Has the bill been paid yet?" Snapping back to the present, I said, "Not yet. I'm going right now." I went downstairs, paid the bill, and when I returned, Jessica Davis was in the room. She said, "I made some chicken soup and brought you some food too. You should eat. The soup's in the thermos. You can get it to Lucy Brown when she wakes up." I took her hand. "Honey, thank you so much." Jessica Davis's face flushed red. She stammered, "I should get going. I left laundry in the machine, need to hang it up. You stay here and look after Lucy Brown." She practically ran out the door as she spoke. I chuckled. My wife isn't comfortable with public displays of affection. She always says, "People will talk." I respect that, so I always keep a professional distance, even at Thompson Group. Just now, I couldn't help taking her hand to thank her, and she got that flustered. I ate the food Jessica brought, then took a work call related to the company. I was on the phone for a while. Just as I hung up, I heard someone call my name from behind me. "Ethan Thompson?" I turned around. Lucy Brown was awake. "I didn't think you'd actually come," she said. "Thank you." I brought the thermos over to her. "Jessica Davis made this chicken soup for you. You should have some while it's hot." Lucy Brown looked surprised. "You asked her to make it for me?" "She did it on her own," I replied. "If there's anything in it you don't like, just pick it out." Lucy Brown doesn't like green onions, and Jessica Davis hadn't put any in the soup. She'd packed them separately. To my surprise, she dumped the container of chopped green onions right into the soup. "I'm not picky anymore," she said. "Learn my lesson about that." My heart clenched. A flood of memories rushed back. Lucy Brown was a picky eater as a child, too. Her parents wouldn't let her be picky and forced her to eat. She'd eat while crying. I quickly moved the food she didn't want on my plate. She immediately smiled. After that, whenever there was something she didn't like, she'd give it to me. Her mom would say, "Ethan Thompson, going to spoil Lucy." My mom would laugh and say, "Let him spoil her. Let him spoil Lucy for her whole life." After we got married, I also thought Lucy Brown's picky eating wasn't healthy and tried to get her to change. But she'd always whine, I don't like it. I had no choice but to give up. I never expected that something I couldn't achieve in 10 years. She managed to change less than a year after marrying Quentin Wilson. I just wonder how many beatings she took. Lucy Brown gulped down the chicken soup. As she drank, tears streamed down her face. I handed her a tissue. It's hot. Drink slowly. Lucy Brown finished eating through her tears, calming down a bit. Then she asked, the baby's gone, isn't it? I couldn't bring myself to tell her the truth, and I didn't know how to say it. She said, I took abortion pills. I froze. Why would you do that? She said, I didn't want to have his child. I was speechless. The baby was 8 months along, and now she didn't want it? Wasn't that playing with life? Lucy Brown said the baby was too big. The pills didn't work, and my stomach hurt unbearably. I had no choice but to go to the hospital. Because I didn't have money for a big hospital, I went to the nearest urgent care and told them I'd fallen. I ended up hemorrhaging badly. The clinic saw how serious it was and transferred me here. She paused, then said, thank you for coming to sign the papers. Otherwise, I wouldn't have made it. I said, you carried that baby for so long. It was already so big. Lucy Brown shook her head. If I had given birth, he would have used the child to keep controlling me. I almost laughed. You're an adult. By the time he gets out of prison, he'll be old. How could he possibly control you then? When Lucy Brown mentioned Quentin Wilson, fear flashed in her eyes. You don't understand. He's terrifying. Thinking about the abuse she suffered at Quentin Wilson's hands and the countless scars on her body, I couldn't help asking, what on earth did you ever like about that monster? I consider myself superior to Quentin Wilson in every way. Why would she love an asshole like that? Lucy Brown looked ashamed. I must have lost my mind. My parents raised me to be a good girl. You watched over me too, never letting me go out alone or sleep over at friend houses. On the surface, I was obedient, but inside I felt suffocated. As I got older, I craved freedom more and more. After graduating from Stanford and starting my job, Quentin Wilson became my colleague. He approached me first, showering me with attention. He took me clubbing, singing karaoke, drinking, smoking, all the things I never dared to do at home. He introduced me to. I experienced things I'd never known before. Quentin Wilson satisfied my curiosity, so I started trusting him more and more. He was great at compliments. Every time we met, he'd tell me I was beautiful and cute. He was observant too. If I changed my hairstyle, he'd notice and tell me how much it suited me. If I bought new clothes, he'd praise them too. I found myself drawn to him without even realizing it. Honestly, he's not as handsome as you, but it was like I was blind, completely mesmerized by him, unable to see how good you were. That year, I told you it was a company team-building event, but it wasn't. I actually ran off with him for 2 days. He painted this beautiful picture of Yosemite for me, talking about wild fruits and vegetables, rabbits, deer, wild boars, grizzly bears. He made it sound so exciting that I went with him. But we ended up falling off a cliff, and his eyes were injured. Then he told me he was blind, and if I left him, he wouldn't want to live anymore. My heart softened, and I told him I had to marry him. I brought him back, used the excuse that I had to repay him for saving my life, and asked you to break off our engagement. If Uncle Brown hadn't pressured me, I might have actually married him that year, and I would have regretted it even sooner. His temper was terrible back then, and it honestly scared me a bit. That's when I finally decided to break up with him. That year, Lucy Brown brought Quentin Wilson home, saying she was going to marry him. Later, when Quentin Wilson stormed off in anger, she actually ran after him. I was furious too. I decided to break up with her and call off the wedding ceremony. But the next day, Lucy came to apologize. She claimed she only felt sympathy for Quentin Wilson, felt responsible for him being partially blind, and wanted to marry him out of guilt to take care of him. She insisted she'd thought it through, that she truly loved me and only wanted to marry me. I angrily kicked her out. Later, Uncle Brown practically dragged her over to plead with my mother. That was the first my mom heard about us nearly breaking up. She asked Lucy how I had wronged her. Lucy couldn't answer, just kept saying she knew she was wrong, that she would change, and that she'd cut off all contact with Quentin Wilson. My mom forgave her. It was only after our parents persuaded us that we finally got married. Lucy continued, he showed up again the second year we were married, while I was pregnant. He told me how much he missed me, how he'd stayed single waiting for me. I suddenly felt terrible for him. I took him out for a meal and told him I was pregnant with your child, that there was no chance for us, and asked him not to contact me again. But I never expected. The very next day, he came back. He rode his bike straight into my stomach. I lost the baby. I was devastated, but I was afraid you'd beat him up, so I kept it from you. I thought I would be furious, but my face remained completely blank. Yes, if she had told me back then, I definitely would have been enraged. I would have hunted Quentin Wilson down and beaten him senseless. If I had known they were still secretly involved, I would have divorced her right then and there. But now, all of it felt like ancient history, unable to stir the slightest emotion in me. Lucy went on. Later, Quentin Wilson started coming around often, using apologies as an excuse. He was good with words, always saying he couldn't live without me. Around that time, things between you and me had become routine. I wasn't working, just dealing with housework every day, and I was bored. Quentin always knew how to cheer me up, finding new ways to make me feel alive again. He charmed me, and that's why I decided to divorce you. But I never realized he didn't actually love me at all. I was silent for a moment, then said, "You must have spent a lot of money on him back then." I covered all the household expenses and gave her $20,000 a month for spending money. Yet, when we divorced, she had almost no savings. Lucy looked startled for a second, then nodded. Yes. At first, he bought me bubble tea a few times. Then I started feeling guilty, thinking I shouldn't always be spending his money. So I began insisting on paying. After a while, he just stopped paying altogether. I was speechless. What a fool, I thought. How could she not have seen what Quentin Wilson was really like back then? Lucy seemed to realize it now, too, shaking her head with a bitter smile. I really was stupid. I thought if I didn't take his money, I wouldn't owe him anything, and I could leave him with a clear conscience. But he was like glue. Once he latched on, I couldn't get rid of him. It was only after I married him that I found out he never held a steady job, loved to gamble, and was deeply in debt. He apparently first approached me because he saw how well I dressed and assumed my family was rich. Remember that year I brought him to call things off with you, and then took him to meet my father? My stepmother looked down on him and told him straight out that I wasn't really part of the family anymore and wouldn't get a dowry. That's when Quentin Wilson realized I was actually poorer than he was. He made an excuse about not wanting to drag me down and left. He only told me all this after we were married. He admitted he only came back later because he thought I'd get half your assets in the divorce. But when I only ended up with $500,000, he was furious. The very night we got our marriage license, he beat me up. I cried all night. I wanted to come find you, but I was too ashamed. After that, he started hitting me regularly. I cried every single day, regretting the path I'd chosen. I was married to you for 10 years, and you never even raised your voice to me. In just a few months with him, I was covered in bruises. She seemed lost in thought, probably recalling those painful days, and stopped, her eyes welling up with tears. I asked, "Why didn't you call the police?" Lucy shook her head. I did call them once, when I really couldn't take his beatings anymore. The police came and gave him a stern warning, and he swore up and down he'd change. But as soon as they left, he locked me in the bedroom and beat me brutally. Then he forced me to kneel until midnight, only letting me up after I promised never to call the police again. I knew Lucy could be naive, and Quentin Wilson had beaten her into submission. She didn't dare call the police or file for divorce. It was only after Quentin Wilson went to prison that she finally dared to file for divorce and then terminate the pregnancy. Lucy looked at me, tears streaming down her face. "Ethan, I know I was wrong. I regret it so much. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry to you and your parents." When she said parents, she meant mine. Can we start over? Please? I'll change. I'll only listen to you from now on. I won't be fooled by anyone else. I cut her off. "Lucy, that's impossible. Jessica and I are married now." She froze, asking in disbelief, "You're married? When? How come I didn't know?" I replied, "About 2 weeks ago. It was a very simple ceremony. We didn't have a reception." Lucy was stunned for a moment, then gave a bitter smile. "I guess I wasn't meant to have that happiness. Jessica's a good woman. She knew I was your ex-wife and still brought me chicken soup." I stood up. "Don't worry about your medical bills. I'll take care of them. And I'll send you $20,000 a month for living expenses until you remarry." Lucy stared again, stunned. "You're still going to give me money?" It was my mom's wish. I took out a letter and handed it to her. I'd been carrying this letter for a long time. I hadn't planned on giving it to her before. But after Quentin Wilson went to prison, I figured the day would come when I need to give it to her, because it contained my mother's last words. Lucy took the letter, her hands trembling as she opened it. I'd read the contents so many times already, I knew them by heart. "Lucy, I hope you never have to read this letter. If you are reading this, it means you and Ethan have divorced, and you won't be calling me mom anymore. That breaks my heart. You're a kind girl, maybe a little too soft-hearted and easily swayed. I worry about you a lot, but I also worry that you'll be taken advantage of because you're too trusting and easily influenced. That time you almost broke off your engagement with Ethan because of that Wilson man. It still frightens me. I promised your mother I would take good care of you, but I can't let you hurt my son. If you hurt his feelings, he can recover. I worry that you might cause him to lose everything. That's why we didn't leave any of our assets directly to you in our will. If you and Ethan had stayed together until old age, you would have been provided for your whole life, and Ethan would have treated you well. But if you divorced him, you wouldn't receive a share of the assets held in our names. I was truly worried that someone might deceive you and leave you with nothing. So I instructed Ethan that if you divorced and remained single, he must provide you with living expenses from our estate. I initially set it at $20,000 a month. If that's not enough, discuss it with Ethan. This support is from me personally to fulfill my promise to your mother to look after you. If you remarry, this support will stop. That's all, Lucy. Be well, both you and Ethan. After reading the letter, Lucy broke down, sobbing uncontrollably. By this time, I had stepped outside the hospital room. Hearing her cries, my heart ached. Lucy's mom and my mom were best friends, so I'd known Lucy since she was born. I watched her grow up day by day. When she was little, I carried her on my back and held her in my arms. We were truly childhood sweethearts. When Lucy was 6, her mother passed away from an illness. We all kept it from her, telling her that her mom had gone to work in another city. She would often grab my hand and ask, "Ethan, where did my mommy go? Why isn't she back yet?" My heart ached for her, knowing she wouldn't have a mother anymore. So I tried to be extra good to her. The following year, Lucy's father remarried. At first, her stepmother treated her well, buying her new clothes and toys, and taking her to school. My mom was relieved and told me, "Lucy started school now. You need to protect her there. Make sure no one bullies her." I nodded and promised. Before long, Lucy's stepmother gave birth to twins, a boy and a girl. Lucy's position in the family changed drastically overnight. She went from being the little princess of the house to the family servant, not only having to care for her baby brother and sister, but also doing chores, getting beaten or yelled at for the slightest mistake. My mom felt really sorry for her, and whenever there was a school holiday, she'd bring Lucy over to our place for a few days. But her stepmother wasn't happy about it, complaining that with Lucy gone, there was no one to watch the babies or do the housework, and she was unpleasant towards my mom. Her dad also told my mom not to spoil Lucy or let her get lazy. When my mom couldn't go, I would. I call her dad, "Uncle Brown, I'm here to pick up Lucy to do homework at my place." Her dad couldn't really refuse, so he had to agree. Back then, Lucy really depended on me. She told me whenever her stepmother yelled at her or her father hit her. Once, because her baby sister had a high fever that wasn't treated in time, she developed pneumonia and died. Her stepmother blamed Lucy for not taking good care of her sister, and her dad beat her and threw her out of the house. She came crying to our house, and my mom, heartbroken, took her in. From then on, she lived with us. We went to school together and came home together every day. Our bond grew stronger, and as we grew up, we naturally fell in love. But right before our wedding, Quentin Wilson interfered, and we almost broke up. By then, Lucy's father was older, his relationship with her stepmother was strained, and he started missing his first wife and caring more about Lucy. Uncle Brown knew our family was sincere about Lucy, said Quentin Wilson seemed unreliable, and forbade her from being with him. So, Uncle Brown personally dragged her over to apologize to me, and then to my mom. We were basically forced into getting married by our parents. I was really unhappy about it. I felt she wasn't devoted to me, wasn't committed to our relationship. After the wedding, I gave her the cold shoulder for a long time. She was very patient back then, rushing home after work every day to cook, clean, and try all sorts of ways to please me. But my heart isn't made of stone, and I started warming up to her. Then she got pregnant, and I treated her even better. We gradually became what others saw as a loving couple. The only lingering issue was that after miscarrying that first baby, she never got pregnant again. None of us knew that Quentin Wilson had tampered with her milk tea. My parents suspected she didn't want to have my children. That whole affair with the other guy was a thorn in my parents' side. They suspected her heart was still with him. As parents, they naturally distrusted a daughter-in-law with divided loyalties, fearing she might conspire with an outsider to get my inheritance. That's why my mom wrote the will the way she did. She told me, "I don't know how long you and Lucy will stay married, but I hope that even if you separate, you won't hate her. Take care of her like a sister," as a way for me to fulfill Aunt's dying wish. When Lucy's mother was dying, she repeatedly begged my mom to help look after Lucy. Only after my mom promised did she close her eyes for the last time. When I was little, Aunt was very good to me. Back then, my mom was busy starting a business with my dad and often didn't have time to come home. Aunt would take me to her place where I lived and ate with Lucy, almost like her own son. I really liked Aunt, too. When I got scolded at school, I didn't dare tell my parents, but I'd tell Aunt. Sometimes, I even asked Aunt to come to parent-teacher conferences for me. I think if Aunt were still alive, she would have guided Lucy properly, and maybe Lucy wouldn't have been deceived by Quentin Wilson. It's a pity the good die young. Back in Pinecrest Heights, I told Jessica Davis about it. She nodded. Even if Mrs. Thompson didn't leave a will, you could still help Lucy Brown. You two were together for so many years. Even if the love is gone, there's still a connection, like family. But Jessica Davis didn't know that I really hadn't planned on getting involved with Lucy Brown again. As the saying goes, the deeper the love, the deeper the hate. Lucy Brown's betrayal of our marriage had filled me with bitter resentment. The day we divorced, I decided her life or death was no longer my concern. After marrying Jessica Davis, my mindset became much more peaceful. Jessica Davis told me, "Your stomach problems come from stress and anger. Losing your parents hit you hard. You probably weren't eating properly back then, and holding in all that anger made it chronic. From now on, as long as we don't get angry or stressed and just stay happy, we'll definitely live long lives together." At Thompson Group, I sometimes lost my temper when subordinates made mistakes. Jessica Davis would look at me gently, shake her head slightly, signaling me not to get angry. She'd say, "As long as we have enough money, that's fine. Just do what you can handle. There's no need to get angry or rush. Good health is everything." Her subtle influence gradually improved my mood day by day, making me more and more calm. So, without even realizing it, I let go of my hatred for Lucy Brown. After giving her my mom's letter, it felt like a huge weight had been lifted from my shoulders, and I felt much lighter. All the bitterness, resentment, and humiliation faded away. Jessica Davis said, "Forgiveness isn't about letting others off the hook. It's about freeing ourselves." I asked, "What about Quentin Wilson?" Jessica Davis replied, "Scoundrels like Quentin Wilson aren't on the forgiveness list. Forgiveness is for family, for our own people. You can't forgive bad people, because forgiving them would just make us sick with anger." She made me burst out laughing. She laughed too and said, "Honey, I love seeing you smile. You look so handsome." Jessica Davis's words made me realize I hadn't really laughed in a long time. For my health and for my wife's love, I resolved to be happy and laugh more often from then on. The next month, Jessica Davis had wonderful news. She was pregnant. When I saw the pregnancy test report, I was overcome with emotion, hugging Jessica Davis with tears streaming down my face. 9 months later, the time came. Jessica Davis gave birth to a daughter, as beautiful as she was. Holding this tiny, wailing baby, I cried even louder than she did. If that other child hadn't been lost, they would have been 10 years old by now. Men my age already had second or third kids, and I was just welcoming my first. But I also felt incredibly fortunate. If I hadn't divorced Lucy Brown, I might still be completely unaware. Or maybe Lucy Brown would have been pregnant with Quentin Wilson's child, and I would have spent half my life working hard only to raise someone else's kid. When Jessica Davis was wheeled out of the delivery room, she held my hand tightly and said, "Don't cry, honey." I barely managed to stop. Then I felt embarrassed. A grown man like me, crying like that while holding a newborn, it was mortifying. Jessica Davis said, "It's not embarrassing. Those are tears of joy." Yes, they were tears of joy. If my parents were watching from heaven, they'd be happy I'd found happiness again, right? Friends and family heard I had a daughter and sent gifts and money to congratulate us. When the baby was a month old, I hosted a celebration. Everyone came. After the guests had eaten and left, Alex Miller took out a pair of small silver bracelets and handed them to Jessica Davis, saying, "These are from Lucy Brown for the baby." Jessica Davis quickly asked, "Where is Lucy Brown?" "She's outside the hotel. She didn't come in. She's being such a stranger. She should have come in and eaten with us." Alex Miller said, "Let it be. It would be awkward for everyone if she came in now." Jessica Davis loved children and clamored to have more. She said, "If I'd had siblings, I wouldn't have felt so alone after my parents passed away." I said, "Let's have more then. I'll work hard. I can support them." She laughed, then changed her mind. "Just one more would be good. I don't want to wear my husband out." I laughed too. The next year, Jessica Davis eagerly got pregnant again, and this time it was a son. She said contentedly, "A son and a daughter, a family of 4. Now it feels complete." I was content too, although deep down I still felt regret for the child from 10 years ago. But Lucy Brown must have felt even more regret. My regret has been somewhat remedied. Will she ever have a chance to make up for hers in this lifetime? Still, I hope she can forget the past and find her own happiness again. That way, both mothers can finally rest in peace.